Ma'am, please start.
Okay, all right. Okay, good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome to the GUJCOST sponsored webinar series, Opportunities in Chemistry and Biological Sciences for Indigenization in India. This is a collection of 6 webinars and we are at the last webinar. This involves converting our scientific ideas into independent startup organizations. These are the tiny steps which ultimately can lead to a self-reliant India. Today, we are in the 6th lecture, as I said, the last one of the 6th lecture series. In this series, we are really very lucky to have our distinguished speaker, Dr. JAVED IQBAL, founder and chairman of Cosmic Discovery, Hyderabad. Sir has kindly agreed to address Indrashil University students on the topic how COVID-19 opens up opportunities for young Indians to become entrepreneurs. I think this question is in everybody's mind, no matter you are student or faculty. We will have the speaker's detailed introduction later on, but let me first introduce the panelists. So as panelists, we should have Dr. Yadav at any time. He's little busy in hospital for his wife's treatment. So we will be having Dr. Yadav sir. We are having Dean SOS Dr. Bharati ma'am. Mr. Abhinand Pandya sir, he is manager strategic committee, Indrashil University. Dr. Rajesh Bhosle sir, he is HOD.
Good morning, sir.
And Dr. Nidhi Gaur ma'am, coordinator, and Dr. Hiral Trivedi ma'am, she is the co-coordinator of the GUJCOST webinar series. Okay, so I will see whether Yadav sir is online. Please give me a second. Okay. So what I will do to Javed sir and to our to the audience who is not from Indrashil University, we will introduce our university first to everyone by Dr. Bharati Dave ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Bhavika?
Yes, ma'am.
A slide, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So very good morning to all. On behalf of Indrashil University, I welcome Professor JAVED IQBAL, as well as the faculty members, the students, and the scientists who are attending this webinar. Let me give you a brief profile about our university and what we are doing at this young but very beautiful university. Next slide, please. So the source of inspiration for establishing this university was Shri Indravadan Bhai A. Modi, who was the founder chairman of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, which was established in 1951. He was popularly known as the medicine man of India, a truly noble person, a modest person, a humble person, and a nationalist at heart. He believed that medicine should be affordable and should reach to the last man of the society, to the poorest of the poor. And this care is still being continued at Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited. So Indrashil University was established as a philanthropic initiative of our founding chancellor, Dr. Rajiv I. Modi, in loving memory of his parents, Shri Indravadan Bhai Ambalal Modi and Srimati Sheila Ben Modi, who laid the foundation stone of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited in 1951. If you see to the success of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, Shri Indravadan Bhai can be a role model for any youngster who aspires to be to initiate a startup and become an entrepreneur. Initially, when Cadila Pharmaceuticals was established in 1951, it was established in just one small room in a village called as Hasot in Bharuch district in Gujarat. And he used to move around in a bicycle for about 30 to 40 kilometers per day, used to market and sell his product on this bicycle. His wife, Srimati Sheila Ben Modi, was the first employee of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited. So to honor the legacy of care and compassion, the university's governing body and Dr. Rajiv Modi are determined to transform and develop this university into a hallmark of global academic excellence, both in terms of teaching as well as in research. Next slide, please. So if we see to the milestones of success of our university, you can see that Cadila Pharmaceuticals was established in 1951. It is one of the largest privately held pharmaceutical company of India. And you know, it has over 10,000 employees and it has its presence in 90 different countries. So in 2016, Cadila Pharmaceuticals took up an education initiative to establish Saraswati Education Foundation. But it was in 2018 that Indrashil University was established as the first life sciences university of our country. And as of now, you have many leaders who are saying that 2018 would be, global leaders who are saying that 2020 would be a year of science. And to add further to this, I would say that 2020 would be a year of life sciences. And Indrashil University has been rightly established at a very appropriate juncture. And for this vision, I thank our Honorable President and the CMD of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited for establishing this university as the first life sciences university of our country. Seeing to the success of our university in 2019, Government of India, Niti Aayog supported us with Atal Incubation Center with its flagship program to encourage youth of our country, to encourage youth of Gujarat to initiate startup and become future entrepreneurs of our country. And I think that today's topic of our webinar with Professor IQBAL would be giving is very appropriate to this. Within the same year, it was Government of Gujarat who supported us with Indrashil Innovative Foundation with student startup and innovation policy. And for young entrepreneurs and for young researchers who want to initiate their startups, we have two platforms, one supported by Government of India Incubation Center and the second supported by Government of Gujarat. Next slide, please. The success of any institute, as I always say, depends on the leader who mentors the institute. We have Dr. E.J.S. Yadav as our mentor, provost of our university, as the director of research of our university. He had been the former director of Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, Hyderabad. He has been awarded with several accolades of the highest level in science as Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Fellow, J.C. Bose National Fellow, plus 150 patents to his credit, more than 1400 publications, more than 250 PhD students. Still, we have 11 to 12 students working with him for the PhD, about 27,000 citations. Next slide, please. One of the best non-organic chemists of our country. What we offer at Indrashil University is academic excellence, both in terms of teaching as well as in research. Equal emphasis is being laid on both this. Moreover, academic excellence is also imparted in terms of faculty that Indrashil University has. All the faculties are PhDs from very premier national institutes. Over and above this, they are all postdocs from 2 to 3 different countries, worked under international scientists of repute and the Nobel laureates. So one of our major objective is to make the students industry ready, and that is why we provide ample industrial exposure to the students in terms of industrial internship, in terms of their placement in industries. We focus on overall development of the students, be it curricular, extracurricular, or co-curricular activities, and we are focused on global academic standards. Next slide, please. So at Indrashil University, we have School of Engineering, School of Science. School of Engineering offers BTech in all the branches as computer science, mechanical engineering, chemical and biochemical engineering. Whereas in School of Science, we offer BSc honors in chemistry and biosciences. First university in Gujarat to offers honors degree at an undergraduate level. MSc in chemistry, MSc in animal biology, MSc in microbiology, PhD in both the programs. In terms of international collaborations, we have entered into MOUs with Sacred Heart University, USA, Tuskegee University, USA, Newcastle University, Australia, and as of now, this MOU is in terms of with computer science and engineering, where the students would be completing 3 years at our university, 1 year at foreign universities, and they would be earning degrees from both the universities. And this is a program which has gained wide recognition among the students and parents of Gujarat. Next slide, please. So needless to say, as we have Dr. J.S. Yadav as our mentor, we have sophisticated state-of-the-art infrastructure laboratory facilities, even in terms of sophisticated equipments that we have, GCMS, HPLC, LCMS, we have FTIR, we have IR, etc. Over and above this, we have recently procured NMR. This NMR, we are the first university in Gujarat to have NMR, and which is available to the students both at undergraduate level, postgraduate level, as well as for the faculty and research scholars, both of our university, as well as we offer services of NMR to other faculties and researchers of various universities of Gujarat. The cost itself is 4.5 to 5 crores. Next slide, please. So as we want to make the students industry ready, which is our very first objective, premier objective, we have MOUs with several industries at Kerala Pharmaceuticals, Karnavati Engineering, Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, CSIR Laboratories, Apollo Hospitals, Tata Consultancy Services, Ratnamani Industries, etc. So with respect to startup and entrepreneurship support that our university offers, it is Atal Incubation Center, 2 platforms, as well as Indrashil Innovative Foundation, supported by Niti Aayog, Government of India, and supported by Government of Gujarat. Next slide, please. So for those who have a novel idea and want to initiate their startups and become entrepreneurs, the facilities that we provide are world-class R&D laboratories, dedicated office and laboratory space. We provide 50 lakh kickstart support, 2 crores at seed fund support, hand-holding by renowned mentors, which may be from industries, government departments, various agencies, R&D laboratories. And we provide an overall support if they want to take up their startup to a sustainable business. Next slide, please. So this is the website which can be reached at in case of any further information. Write an email regarding admissions to admission@indrashiluniversity.edu.in. So thank you very much, Dr. Paulomi, madam. I hand over it to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind introduction. I see Mr. Abhinand Pandya online. I would request him to say, he's manager strategic committee. I would request him to say a few words about this webinar series. Pandya, sir. I think he's not there at his chair right away. Nidhi ma'am, would you please introduce the GUJCOST sponsored webinar series? And later on that, if Abhinand sir is online, I would request him to say something about the webinar. Otherwise, I would ask you to introduce
actually
sir
my
as well.
connection got
Okay.
Yeah, good morning to you all, and first of all, warm welcome to JAVED.
Abhinand sir, you need to unmute yourself. Connection error आ रहा है? Okay. I think he has some connection issues. Why don't we start with Nidhi ma'am? Ma'am, please. Nidhi, you got to unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, Dr. Paulomi, for giving me the opportunity to speak about this.
Sorry, my connection is getting bad, so you can continue. And first of all, my warm welcome to JAVED IQBAL sir for sparing time to enrich his knowledge to our kids, because for such a stalwart to give a lecture, it is our pleasure and honor for IU to have such a stalwart here. And all of the students, they must take opportunity to interact with sir and get the most of the knowledge out of sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinand sir.
So I can.
Yes, please, Nidhi ma'am.
So thank you, Dr. Paulomi, for giving me the opportunity to speak about this very useful GUJCOST webinar series. The webinar series is entitled Opportunities in Chemistry and Biological Sciences for Indigenization in India, which is a very relevant topic in today's context, wherein our Honorary Prime Minister has appealed to all of us to create a self-reliant India. So there is increasing need to become self-sufficient in all sectors, and we as scientists should realize our responsibility towards society and strive to convert our research ideas to applications which could generate more and more employment. Hence, learning objective of this webinar series is to create an awareness among students and young scientists about the opportunities present in chemical and biological sciences and its future scope. It is expected that the webinar given by the eminent scientists will also be helpful to get guidance on how to set up collaborations with industries and other academic institutions and have an interdisciplinary approach, and also learn importance of creative work environment wherein innovative ideas are always welcome. So one of the most important aim of this webinar series is the students and scientists should learn how to convert their ideas to proof of concept and finally use it for commercialization and make products that can be launched in the market. In this context, today we are very fortunate that we have Professor JAVED IQBAL sir, who has such vast academia and industrial experience and is a live inspiration for all of us. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation, and I am really very eager to hear your webinar and learn a lot from it. So I just want to invite you for giving the webinar, but before that, I want to just give a short introduction of your achievements to our audiences and students. So Professor JAVED IQBAL has vast academic credential, and the more we say about his achievements, it is lesser. After graduating from Delhi University in 1977, he went to Cambridge University to work as Sir Postdoctoral Fellow with Professor Ian Fleming. He subsequently moved to Oxford University and worked with Professor Sir J. Baldwin on penicillin biosynthesis. After teaching for a year at University of Montpellier, France, he returned to India in 1984 and joined IIT Kanpur as faculty in the Department of Chemistry and became a professor there in 1990. He made a switch from academia to industry and joined Dr. Reddy's Research Foundation, Hyderabad, as Senior Vice President of Research in the year 2000. After spending a year as Director, Regional Research Laboratory CSIR Trivandrum, he came back to Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited in January 2003 and was given a title of Distinguished Research Scientist and Global Head Discovery Chemistry. He was heading a research group of 140 scientists at the Hyderabad and Atlanta Discovery Research Facility of DRL, Doctors Reddy Lab. He has more than 30 years of teaching and research experience and has nearly 200 research publications in international journals. He is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Science and Indian National Science Academy. His research interest includes synthetic organic chemistry, medicinal chemistry, and discovery of new drugs in the area of diabetes, cancer, bacterial infection, and cardiovascular diseases. So, sir, please, we are very eager to hear from you, and you can start your webinar.
Thank you, Nidhi, for nicely introducing both our webinar series and sir. I would take 1 minute before sir proceeds. I would just take 1 minute to explain the rules of the webinar. As you know that we provide e-certificates to all the attendees who are providing feedback. So at the end of the lecture, I will post the feedback link over there in chat section. You can click on it and submit the feedback right away, because after a couple of hours we'll be sending the e-certificates. So if you are late, then like tomorrow we cannot say today's certificate. So please know that you have to submit the feedback right away, right after the lecture. And if you have any question, you are welcome to have questions. If you have any question, please write it down in the question and answer section that is at the bottom of the screen that you are having. And we will start with the webinar right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Sir, you may please start your presentation. Thanks.
Unmute.
Javed, sir, could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. And I must thank Dr. Yadav, who once called me to give this webinar. And being a very good friend, I couldn't say no. And of course, I must at the outset say that I'm really indeed impressed by the university. It is a very unique kind of experiment that this university is doing, where They're looking into some of the modern sciences like biology and chemistry and trying to also encourage entrepreneurship. And I think it's indeed, I'm very impressed that they have incubation center, which is indeed today is the need of the hour. Such kind of universities are actually more required in this country because of the fact that we have a very huge population of young Indians who are having ideas and who are bubbling to do things and innovate. So, you know, I thought I would choose this topic today because of the fact that, just a minute, I look into this, yeah. Because of the fact that, you know, we can always talk about good science and talk about all those kind of things. But then, you know, it is important that how do we translate all these knowledge and innovations that actually we train at our universities and institutions. And today we are actually in a very unusual times in the history of India. We are going through a pandemic, and this pandemic is something which is highly unknown in terms of how do we combat this and how do we get out of this pandemic situation. It has actually given us a tremendous amount of setback in terms of what as a nation we were doing and what as a young Indians we were trying to do before the COVID came into it. So it is very important today, and this is one of the turning points in the history of any nation, particularly in our country, as to how do we look into this, and particularly the Indians, the young Indians, what do they do? Because as you will see next, the impact of this is actually on our lives is, this is the impact of COVID-19 on our lives is, if you look into it, the short term is a health, education, social interaction, employment, business, agriculture. And it has a very profound impact on our economy. While at the long term, if you look into it, our lifestyles have changed, education has been suffering, employment is very low, and more importantly, the social interaction which used to be driven by our interaction on a day-to-day basis in our society, in our classroom, in our malls, in our bazaars, actually is completely gone. We totally are now governed by virtual social interactions. In the long term, it's going to have an impact on our social life. And I can tell you that what I've understood globally from thinkers, that we are not going to go back to the life that we were leading before this pandemic. So there has to be a new order in terms of how we lead our lives and how we go about accepting the new reality, the new normal, as they would call it. So it is a very important junction in our life, in the history of this nation, as to how do we cope with all these problems of health, education, employment, social interaction, business, agriculture. Everything is impacted. And it's not going to go away so easily because of the fact that what I understand from medical scientists, that this is a very unique kind of virus, which is RNA based, and it mutates very fast. And therefore, it is extremely important for us to know the implication of this pandemic is going to be there with us. And we have to fight it collectively through our own resolve and our own ways of leading life and changing our life patterns. Even if we get the vaccine is not going to reach to 130 crore people in this country. So all this excitement about vaccine is only going to be confined to some very rich and upper class people. Because a large country like India cannot afford to give vaccines to everyone. Anyway, be that as it may, the challenges that are posed by pandemic for youth is a very important one. And I think this has to be very seriously, because I thought there were a lot of young people who are attending this seminar. And I wanted to really address this issue for them, because they are actually going to be the one which are going to suffer in a big way, because they are young, they have a long life ahead of them. And therefore, they have to think as to how they have to, cope with these challenges of pandemic. If you look into the how we are affected online education, it is going to provide very poor training and skills. Our teachers are still not equipped to do online teaching because suddenly they are doing something which they are not used to. And therefore, online education is going to be just a farce, in my opinion. There's no social interaction with batch and classmates, which is one of the best part of growing up in a school or a college, where you are going through a process of camaraderie, friendship, learning from each other, debate, discussion. This is going to go away. Then we have a very poor industrial growth. If you see our manufacturing and other companies or factories are not working to the full capacity. Then there's a problem of lack of jobs, massive unemployment. Job opportunity are only for few sectors, only in a few like IT or some other sectors. And unlike previous times where people would go to US, UE and Australia, etc., those opportunities are diminishing because of the fact deglobalization is taking place today. Every country is talking about helping their own people. They are not going to depend on in a large way as they used to do in past about immigrants who would go there and help. So the bottom line is, what should youth of today do? It's a very, very important and a very, very, very serious question that youth of today must ask. Opportunities that are there in pandemic, it is generally believed that every crisis offers a new opportunity. And I think history has taught us that. So opportunity for youth is to become entrepreneurs. But the question is that can every young person of today become an entrepreneur? Is a big question. So Indian youth are at the crossroads in this era of pandemic. They're at the crossroads. And why? India has demographic dividend. I mean, our population, demographic dividend is where we get advantage because of a very high young population, as it is the youngest country in the world. 60 to 70% of our youth are in the age group of 18 to 30 years of age. Government cannot provide employment to all youth. That's very clear. Government cannot give employment to this 60, 70% of people. Private sector also, and private sector is, including IT sector, is automating, and less manual workforce is required. This is another problem of the automation. So Indian youth is intelligent, skillful, and innovative. So what options do they have in this era of pandemic? This is a question that we must ask. The opportunities that I think, and of course, it's no new thing that everybody is talking about, I'm just repeating that, is entrepreneurship. But entrepreneurship is not understood well by our young people in this country because of the fact that we never in our education system allow any kind of entrepreneurial spirit in students. It's only recently in some IITs and some other places that it has started happening. So what is an entrepreneur? Characteristics of an entrepreneur. We need to understand the young people. Planning to be an entrepreneur. Growth pressures, managing a family business, and corporate intrapreneurship. I'll tell you what intrapreneurship is. It is different from entrepreneurship. So let's look into it, entrepreneurship with intrapreneurship. Entrepreneurs are people that notice opportunities and take the initiative to mobilize resources to make new goods and services. They are opportunists. They have to be opportunistic. Whereas intrapreneurs also notice opportunities and take initiative to mobilize resources. However, they work in large companies and contribute to the innovation of the firm. So intrapreneurs are the people who already work in a large company, but they're also like entrepreneurs within that company. They also look for opportunities, look into resources, and then they try and innovate within that country. Therefore, entrepreneurship often become entrepreneurial. So basically, there are two ways. One is that you become an entrepreneur outside of going into a big company and then becoming an intrapreneur, and from there you become an entrepreneur. So this is a very exciting time for Indian students and my young students for them to look into it, because clearly job opportunity either in government or in private sectors are rather limited. And we need to understand and take this. You can't blame this to anybody, neither the government nor the society. You have to realize the realities of today's world, especially in the era of pandemic. So what is intrapreneurship? Learning organization encourage, if there are very good organizations where you work, they actually encourage intrapreneurship. What these organizations want: product champions, people who take ownership of a product from concept to the market. See what happens, companies who produce products, they would like to have some bright people who take this as a champions of that product, and they take the ownership of that product, and from concept, and then from concept, they take it to the market. Skunk works, this is an American word, or geeks, these both are American words, but these are very important words to understand, are a group of entrepreneurs kept separate from the rest of the organization. See, every organization, what it does, it recognizes very bright and innovative people, and they give them a separate kind of playground. They are kept separately from the rest of the crowd, and they are given a lot of support, and they create, let's say, for them a new venture division, allows divisions to act as own smaller company within that company. And then they are rewarded for innovation. So these people are asked, okay, you do yourself, we define your boundary conditions, you think and innovate. And link the innovation by workers to valued rewards. And they're obviously rewarded. They become they become senior management. They are also given, shares in the company and what have you. Now, small business owners. Now, see, basically what happens is that entrepreneur starts thinking from the beginning as a student, as a young student. You obviously think about either going into a company, working there for a few years, and then starting your own business as an entrepreneur. Or you first become an intrapreneur in a company, and then slowly over a few years, you come out of that company and you become an entrepreneur. But the small businesses owners are people who start small businesses, who own a major equity stake in a company with fewer than 500 employees. So, a company has less than 500 employees. In India, if you look into India, by nature we are entrepreneurs, there are 60 million small businesses today. And more than 80% of people are employed by small businesses. You can imagine that not 80% are not employed in Reliance or in IT companies in Google or what have you. 80% people of a country actually are employed by these small businesses, where a company has less than 500 employees. But then employee satisfaction should look, why should one work in a small company or a big company? It's a very interesting data. I got it from somewhere. In companies with less than 50 employees, 44% people were satisfied. In companies with 50 to 990 employees, 31% are satisfied. Business with more than 1,000, only 28% are. So you can see as the company grows, as the number of people, employees grow, the satisfaction number goes down. I have a chart here, you can see, so 44 is for the smaller, less than 50, then you can go less and less. So employee satisfaction also goes down as the number of employees in an organization increases. So what are the advantages of small business? Small business provides you greater opportunity to get rich through stock options. Stock options is nothing but shares. Feel more important because you are part of that. You are one of the major owner of that company. And you are very secure. You're not going to lose your job or anything. You are secure. And you are very comfortable because you work in a small business where you know that nobody is going to throw you out. Okay, now let's go forward. What are the disadvantages of a small business? Obviously, the pay is not very high and guaranteed pay is not there. Very few benefits. Like big companies give you a lot of benefits. Expected to have many skills. You're supposed to do a lot of things for the smaller companies, not only one type of job, but they also expect you to do many other things. And there's too much of cohesion. That means you're too much of close to that company, attached to it. And therefore, you hard to move to big company. I mean, you then don't want to go to a big company because you get so used to a small company, the kind of cohesion that you develop over years, you don't want to go to work with a big company. And there's a large fluctuation in income possible. So basically, you can't think of going from, let's say, earning from 1 lakh today to maybe 1 crore in the next few months. It's not possible because this is really a small business company. Now, what are the traits of entrepreneurs? This is something that we need to understand, that entrepreneurs have to have a certain trait not everybody can become. And what are those common traits? They have to be original thinkers. They have to be risk takers. Take responsibility for own actions, not blame others. Feel competent and capable, very competent. Set high goals and enjoy working towards them. Others, they are self-employed. Parents, they are generally firstborn. Well, there's nobody in the family has ever done a business. They are generally between 30 to 50 years of age, well-educated. 80% have college degrees and 1/3 have a graduate level degree. So you can see the common trait of an entrepreneur is very clear. Original thinker, risk taker, has set high goals, self-employed, firstborns, generally 30 to 50 years of age, and well-educated. So what is the difference between a successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs? Successful are very creative and innovative. You see, you have to be very creative and innovative. What you learn in your classroom is one thing, and what you can gain out of that training in or teaching in classroom, how do you extend it forward? How do you increase it in such a way that you start? And that cannot happen by simply what your teacher taught you. You have to think beyond that teaching, and you have to use your creative and innovative mind. That's one of the qualities, the requisite, I would say, for a successful entrepreneur. Position themselves in shifting or new markets. You should not be scared of going from one business to other or one market to other. Create new products. Always be lookout. Today you made one product. Don't be satisfied with that only one product. New processes. Create new delivery. So product, process, and delivery is a constant process which has to be improved. And this is where a successful entrepreneur is geared at. He or she knows that I have to be creative, innovative. I have to, explore different markets, and then of course, create new products, new processes, new delivery. What about unsuccessful ones? They are poor managers. Managerial skill is one of the very important criteria for becoming a successful entrepreneur. And your work ethic is very low. You are not working properly. You're also cutting corners and so on and so forth. You are inefficient. Your efficiency is not very good. And failure to plan and prepare. You are not good at planning and preparing. You don't think of future. And also you manage your money very poorly. These are the very, very important criteria which one has to avoid to become a successful entrepreneur. So now let's look into characteristics of entrepreneurs. Their attributes are key personal attributes. Number one, strong managerial competencies and good technical skills. And that makes you successful entrepreneur. So these three are very important, and I'll go one by one. So what are the key personal attributes? Entrepreneurs are made, not born. See, somebody says, oh, he's a born businessman. No, you can be made. And many of these key attributes are developed early in life with the family environment playing an important role. Entrepreneurs tend to have had self-employed parents who tend to support and encourage independence, achievement, and responsibility. So there are entrepreneurs whose parents are already there, so they obviously encourage you to become an entrepreneur. The firstborns tend to have more entrepreneurial attributes because they receive more attention, have to forge their own way, thus creating higher self-confidence. People who do not have a history of anybody in the family doing business, and they are the ones, they get a lot of things for becoming what I should become. They get more attention from parents. And they obviously, in the absence of any support from family, any kind of entrepreneurial support from family, they carve their own way, they carve their own niche, and they are highly self-confident people. The career of entrepreneurs are like this. The idea entrepreneurial success leads to more entrepreneurial activity may explain why many entrepreneurs start multiple companies over the course of their career. You see, there are people who have this entrepreneurial success or entrepreneurial spirit or activity, and they are always there to start new companies, always multiple companies. There is something in the parlance is called corridor principle, using one business to start or acquire others and then repeating the process. So what happens really, corridor principle, this is a very common management principle that you start one business, and while you're starting the business, you start acquiring others. Like there's a company next door, you try to make it and buy it, and then go on repeating the process. Then there are serial entrepreneurs. It's a very common word in the area of entrepreneurship. A person who founds and operates multiple companies during one career. There are so many of them in the Western world who start maybe 10 companies, 20 companies. There are people who have started 50 companies. They are serial entrepreneurs. They have this, they have this what you call knack, quality, skills, whatever you call, have to start multiple companies. And they are ones who have a desire for achievement, need for an achievement. A person's desire either for excellence or to succeed in competitive situation. These are very, very important characteristics. And very high achievers take responsibility for attaining their goals, set moderately difficult goals, and want immediate feedback on their performance. So high achievers are the ones who take responsibility. They set their goals, they achieve those goals. And they also want to get the feedback as to how they have done this. These are very, very important criteria and traits of such people. And success is measured in terms of what those efforts have accomplished. See, this is another very important point here. Your success is not that you have made money. Your success is overall, what have you really accomplished in terms of branding this product, in terms of creating network, in terms of going global, in terms of expanding your business. There are so many things which are defined by success. Now, they're very independent people. People who entrepreneurs, they desire to independence. Entrepreneurs often seek independence from others. As a result, they generally aren't motivated to perform well in large bureaucratic organizations. This is a very important point. A good entrepreneur would not like to be working in a very large bureaucratic organization. He's not motivated. He needs independence. And entrepreneurs have internal drive, are confident in their own abilities, and possess a great deal of self-respect. So you have to be very confident about your ability. I can do this. Yes, I have the ability to do this. I will do it. And of course, I have a lot of self-respect. I don't want to go and beg and borrow from others. The self-confidence is one of the very important criteria as one of the key personal attributes of an entrepreneur. Because of high risk involved in running an entrepreneurial organization, having an upbeat and self-confident attitude is essential. See, when you run an organization, and if you run it with a very low morale, then you're never going to make it a success story. Therefore, you have to have spirit of upbeatness, self-confidence that I can do this. I'm not, I'm taking risk and therefore I'll be able to do this. That spirit has to be there. I always tell to my students, and I have promoted a few companies in my life, I always tell people who come to seek advice from me is that the greatest risk you take in your life is that you don't take a risk. And business is nothing but risk taking. Okay. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to be taking risk. And if you don't take a risk in your life, that is the biggest risk you're doing. Therefore, you can't become an entrepreneur. A successful track record leads to improved self-confidence and self-esteem. Very clear. Self-confidence enables that person to be optimistic in representing the firm to employees and customer alike. Therefore, you treat employees and customer alike, and that kind of self-confidence has to be there in people. That's very, very important. Self-confidence is the key for you becoming a successful entrepreneur. Self-sacrifice is another one. This is a very important point. It is very important. Nothing worth having is free. You see, nothing is you get free. And success has high price. You must remember that success doesn't come by just some low price. You do something, anything I'll get. And entrepreneurs have to be willing to sacrifice certain things. So you need to have a very sacrificial kind of attitude in doing your business or your entrepreneurship. And nothing comes free. Everything has a price that you need to pay for that. Then comes the technical competence. Many entrepreneurs demonstrate strong technical skills, typically bringing some related experience to their business ventures. For example, very simple example, successful car dealers usually have lots of technical knowledge about selling and servicing automobiles before opening their dealership. This is very common. People work in a company, understand what an automobile is about, selling and servicing, then they become a dealer. Especially important in the computer industry, because if you want to start a computer industry, you need to have some technical skills, because otherwise, it's not very good to get into something about which you have no technical competence. But also, it is not always necessary. There are people who have started businesses, and I know there are several examples of that, who actually had no technical skills, but they have started businesses and have been very successful. Training is another thing, business planning rather, a step-by-step outline of how an entrepreneur or the owner of an enterprise expects to turn ideas into reality. See, ideas into reality is a very important, and this is what the business plan is. You may have a lot of ideas. Some of them are not realistic. Some of them are semi-realistic, and some of them are really realistic. This is where your acumen, your intelligence, your foresight has to come, where you are able to take among the several ideas, an idea or ideas that would translate into reality. And that is extremely important for you to remember that. And the question that you must keep in mind is, what are my motivation for owning business? That's one thing very important for you to get into when you start a business. Should I start or buy businesses? See, there are two ways of starting a business. You either start or you have some money that you say, I'll buy an existing business, something that, I don't have to start from scratch. I would go to, and of course you will pay more money, but then I like to start. What and where is the market for which I want to sell? And this market is very important. Market research, market knowledge, extremely important as to where and what to do. And the cost is very important. How much will it cost? And should my company be domestic or global? Whether you want to really become within the country, within this domestic, or you want to go across in Europe and America, these are all questions that you must ask to become an entrepreneur. You don't get into something just like that, oh, I want to start some. Of course, there are people who do this. I'm not saying that. Mom and pop shops, I'll tell you later on, have this kind of thing for several decades in our country, in our society, who are very happy with whatever they have and they don't think beyond domestic or global. So motivations, deciding what motivations will direct you towards what type of business fits you best. Again, the choice of business is very important, and this will all depend upon your level of motivation. What kind of motivation level you have. Like, for instance, lifestyle venture. Do you want to get into something which is a lifestyle venture? Small profit venture where you just take some small profit and you are happy with it. Or you go into a high growth venture. I will explain to you what they mean. Lifestyle venture is a small company that provides its owner independence, autonomy, and control. So you want to say, I am a small company, but I want independence, I want total control and autonomy of my business. It often runs out of the house. You can start this from your home itself. It also provides you flexibility, hours, meeting places, and time. That means you can do anything, any hour, you can wear any kind of dress, you can meet anywhere. So it has a lot of flexibility if you operate from household. And also, while doing this small business, you can also pursue your personal interests, hobbies, and your desire to make a profit. So you are making some profit at the same time. You're also pursuing your personal interests and hobbies. So this is a small business, that of course. The other is small venture. Small company not focused on growing and happy with day-to-day profit. There are companies which say, okay, I'm happy. I don't want to grow, but I want to have a day-to-day profit. Making millions of rupees is not. I don't want to make millions of crores and crores of rupees. I'm happy as long as I have a day-to-day profit. And I'm very content with making a decent living. I earn so much that I get a good, decent living. It's very good, like ex-mom and pop stores. You know, ex-mom and pop stores are the ones where you have, you know, your father and mother, they run. It's like a grocery store at the corner, a perchune shop. You know, this has been traditional in Indian, you know, you buy all your groceries from a corner shop in your mohalla. You know, these are called mom and pop shops. They are like this. They are exactly fit into this, that they don't want to grow. They have a day-to-day profit. They are okay. They also do a decent living. Now, high growth venture is, goal is maximum profit and growth. This is where the real, metal of a person comes into. Your goal is to get maximum profit and you want to grow globally. Concentrate on pushing the business to the next level and growing as large as possible. And this all will happen only when you focus on innovation. Now, innovation is a very important concept for growing a business. If you want to become a high growth ventures, you've got to also keep that innovation is a very important component of that. Then the question is that whether I start or I buy. Now, there are very different ways of starting a business. When you start, it is cheapest, but very difficult because you put your money, then you build a business, and it requires most planning and research. So if you start from scratch, it is cheap, but difficult. It requires a lot of research on market, a lot of planning, all those. When you buy, it's expensive. You want to buy a business, it's expensive, maybe out of reach, but requires less planning and research because already this business is running. So planning and research has already gone into it, but it is very expensive. The third is, which a lot of people do, is franchise, which is a middle ground between these two. A business run by an individual, which is called franchise, like KFCs, and you see all these, American chains. Even in our country, we have all these, all these fast food. They are mostly run as a franchisee, to whom a franchisor grants the right to market a certain good. So what happens? All these big companies, like all these burger shops, all these KFCs, and many other shops. I'm not able to remember the names of these. McDonald's hamburger and all. These are all franchisees. And what happens is that people are given the agreement or grant to sell that product and that. So, like, you can go to them saying, I want to be a franchisee of your product. I start my things, and because that product's already made a big impact in the market. Therefore, selling it not going to be difficult. And how you make it also, the know-how and all are coming from the franchisee. So I think it is from the franchisor, I'm sorry. From the franchisor can give you all that help, and it's easy business, and which is a middle ground between if you want to start or you want to buy. So it's a very good idea. A lot of people do the so-called franchisee business. Market is a very important thing, and market has to be understood. Planning and research is essential for market. Extensive market service, either through families or friends or neighbors, they talk and they can tell you, yes, this product is very popular, or that product. Or when you see magazines and there are a lot of call offers, some information market. There are a lot of information today that's available for understanding the market as to which product and where and how. These are important things. Then cost becomes a very important. Don't overestimate your profits, first of all. Don't underestimate your cost. These are very, very important things. And of course, sources of fund. How do you get the fund? Banks are one of them. And venture capitalists. Venture capitalists are very common across the world. And these are the people who are filthy rich, high-risk investors, looking for many times over yield. That means venture capitalists, which are called VCs, they can put money. They are very rich people, but they want high returns. Like if they put 100 rupees today, maybe after 2 years, they want maybe 1 crore or I don't know, 20 lakh, depending upon the business that they are investing in. Then there are angels. Angels are the ones, they are basically come at a very early age and they have money and they are basically, they are supporter of a new young business and their demands are very little and they are far more easy to handle than venture capitalists. So angels are the ones who invest in the business at the early stage of your business. Then come the venture capitalists. After you started the money that you took from angels, then you start your business. And then you go to, after 1, 2 years or 3 years, then you go to venture capitalists, say, I need more money. Because by that time, your business has grown. So this is very important. When you start a business, don't go first to venture capitalists or banks. You should look for angels. These are very good people around you, have money, and they want to promote such kind of entrepreneurships. They're not easy to find, but they are there. Now there is this thing about the vision that you want to be a domestic company or a global company. Now, drawback to global is if you want to become a global company, you need to have more research and you have to have connections which are not there if you have startup phase. Suppose you start a company and you want to go global, you have neither research nor you have very good connection. And then you will have to do a lot of traveling to get all that and a lot of other things. Therefore, at a startup phase, you can't think of global. These are the drawbacks. But the advantage of global is that once you become global, then there are more human resources, more demand, more financing, easier to start global than to go from domestic to global. So basically, domestic to global is a big challenge, and therefore you need to understand that it is not easy, and therefore you need to plan accordingly. Now, an entrepreneurship is that, what are the growth pressures? There are a lot of pressures when you start a company and thing, especially when you're want to go to global. From domestic to worldwide expansion, globalization can be extremely rewarding for us. See, one thing is very clear. If you want to go from domestic to a global company, it's very rewarding, no doubt. But think about it. It requires money and business exposure. You have to have money, and what are you going to do globally, whether your business is good enough to be attracting those buyers or whoever it is, or market. However, it is a huge undertaking. It's a very big thing. Adapting your business to operate in global market can lead to a decrease in ownership, because when you are going to go global, you're going to raise more money. And then you raise more money, you have to give part of your ownership. And a forced focus on raising money to keep your business. Then you will only be after money. You are going to raise money, you're running around, and you are actually focusing away from your business. So how do you think about selling out? The part of your company can be sold out as what you call shares, or initial public, that is list on the stock exchange, public to private, that is private to public, I'm sorry. So when you want to raise more money in our country or everywhere, there is this stock exchange like Bombay Stock Exchange, or where you say, my company is doing very well, I'm going to do this and that. You present it to people, people buy your shares, and the money that comes to your company, that money can be used to grow your company. So these are the ways in which you can go global. Now, if you look into whether you want to do business in family, you know, about 50% of Indian gross GDP is generated from family business. 50% of GDP is all from family business. So why not dream up a plan and go into business with your family or friends? It's a good idea, but the problems that are, there are 2 reasons not to go into business with your family or friends. Why? Families fight and friends fight. Often it involves money, so a business environment could potentially breed arguments, disagreements, and feuds, fighting. And fighting can occur during early development stage, when hours are long, where you have time and your pay is very low, or after success has been. So fighting can happen when you're at the beginning of your business or when your business has been successful. So these are very, very important things to remember. But there are 6 steps to help lead your successful family business. Clear job responsibility you have to first define, clear hiring criteria, clear plan for management transition, that means who becomes what, agreement on whether and when to sell business, commitment to resolving conflict quickly. If you have a difference, quickly you resolve it, and involve outside advisors to mediate. Suppose you have conflict in the business, in your family, oftentimes outsiders who are outside your family can come and help and resolve your conflict. Overall, bottom line is clarity is key, but there's no guarantee that this will happen. So what are the problems in family business? Family feud, severe relationship, divorce, poor business performance, low morale and motivation. So these are the problems in doing a family business, especially in today's youth who wants to start a business and become an entrepreneur. So now look into entrepreneur versus entrepreneur. Intrapreneur is someone who is an exciting organization who turns new ideas into profitable realities. I told you earlier, entrepreneurs are part of a company which has given them freedom to use ideas and convert them into some profitable ventures. And not every employee has the ability to become successful entrepreneur, which is true. It takes well-developed strategic action, teamwork, and communication ability. So these are the qualities that must be there for a person working in a company to become intrapreneur. And organizations that redirect themselves through innovation have the following characteristics. Commitment from senior management. So if you intrapreneur can only become a management give them commitment, flexible organization design, autonomy of venture team, competent, talented people with entrepreneurial attitudes, incentives and reward for risk taking, appropriately designed control system. Now, these are some of the very important criteria by which organizations will basically allow you to become an entrepreneur and give you all kind of freedom so that you can come up with some new ideas and bring them revenue for the company with new products, new ideas, new technology. And how companies do this? In order for this type of forward thinking to reap long-term benefit, top management of the company must allow it to flourish in day-to-day operations of the business. I mean, they must be given a separate hand. In US parlance, this is known as skunk works. This is very common in the US. Of course, we are also now adopting these kind of jargons. Skunk works are those people, or skunk works are islands of entrepreneurial activity within an organization. An organization creates an island where such people are given freedom to innovate and do things. Remember, on the island, formal rules and policies of the organization often do not apply. You have to leave them outside the rules and regulations of your organization, give them free hand so that they can come up with something really outstanding. So what are the sectors where our young entrepreneurs can look into today? Today, choices are limited. Today, the science and technology way of doing things is changing. It is no longer that you have big corporates and big private sector undertaking where you can go and work, because a lot of churning is going on in our country, especially in the COVID times. But there are areas in which you can always look into it: information technology, artificial intelligence, health diagnostics, e-commerce, pharmaceuticals, online education, nanotechnology for smart materials, biotechnology, and new drug innovation, including vaccine. Well, I may have left out some more, but these are things, to my knowledge, to my mind, are the ones where today's young entrepreneurs can look into these. And it is not difficult to get into these. You don't have to necessarily have knowledge for all of these. You can either get a friend or a person whom you can hire who have knowledge in these, provided you have that motivation to become an entrepreneur. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is there, many of the traditional businesses are going to go away. And you will see IT will play a very important role, artificial intelligence, health diagnostics going to be, e-commerce. People don't want to go and buy things from store. Now they will get things at home. Then pharmaceuticals is certainly going to be a big thing. Online education is going to become, again, a norm, and you will see a lot of online education tools are going to come. And you could perhaps help in making those tools. Now, traditional materials like wood and plastics and many other materials that we have traditionally been used are no longer going to be, they are going to be replaced by so-called smart materials, which can be made by nanotechnology or nanobiotechnology. And of course, biotechnology will always remain to come up with new diseases, diagnostics, new drug discovery and all that, which is always going to be there. These are some of the areas. I may have left out a few, But these are the areas where actually you could think about becoming an entrepreneur, provided you know about them, do extensive market survey, and then look into the chances. So this is the right moment for the Indian youth to become entrepreneurs. So there are opportunities. As I said, every crisis gives an opportunity. So there are opportunities waiting for you. Go and grab it. This is what I'm trying to say. Classroom education, classroom training makes you intelligence, makes you to think. You need to think beyond teachers. This is what I emphasize, that teachers have limitation in terms of what they can impart in terms of knowledge to you. But I can tell you that I, as a researcher, when I was in industry as well as when I was in Art Kanpur, a lot of my new ideas that I did in my research oftentimes came from the questions that my student raised, and I could not answer those questions. And this is where the beginning of innovation, entrepreneurship begins. So what you learn in your classroom is very important, that places you are, that prepares you to become an inquisitive mind who could now go beyond and think of innovating, think of taking those education, those ideas forward, which will lead to you becoming an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship today is a very, very important thing. And it also gives you enough impetus to look into your own self. A lot of people are, because of the, they are scared of, losing money, or they want to have a secure job because parents say, no, take a job. I agree on that. That's very important. The socioeconomic condition of the family is very important, whether you want to go and take a safe job or you want to become an entrepreneur. These are, of course, things which are always going to be there, but I'm only looking at for those young Indian youth who are looking to think beyond some of those things. And there are these opportunities waiting for you. So go and grab it. Thank you very much. And I'll be very happy to answer questions. Thank you.
So, sir, I had one question. You are a co-founder and chairman of Cosmic Therapeutics.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know how this idea came, and what was the motivation behind it, and what were the challenges when you started this venture?
Very good. See, what happens is that every venture, when you start everything, when you want to become entrepreneur, there is always a question. There is always a challenge before you. When I started this thing, this company that I started was essentially set up to help some industries, especially Dr. Reddy's and other industries, who were buying a lot of their starting materials from China and other countries. And obviously, you're paying more, import, money and all that, and therefore, and time and reliability of the product. So we said, why not we do this instead of China, and we can make not all the product that China supplies, but at least some of them. And therefore, why not we do this and we supply it to you and other companies? So there was this motivation. Why we should get it from China? Why not we do it here? And there are companies in India who are saying, okay, if you make it here, I will not buy it from China. So these are some of the motivations that was driven. And I have actually 4 other companies that, I don't talk, but they're already there and they have done well. And so far I have promoted about 4 to 5 companies. So they're all driven by certain kind of challenges before you. Either you have the challenge, or the company has a challenge, or the country has a challenge. So without a challenge, without a target, you obviously can't become an entrepreneur. And my thing was that I thought that this is a very good opportunity to start something to serve the Indian pharma company.
It is really inspiration how an academician can become entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's the future. I'll tell you, because you see, if you look into Europe, if you look into America, if you look into Southeast Asia, if you look into China, if you look into Singapore, you see majority of the people, very large population is entrepreneur. They work in a company, or they run their own company, or they are trading of course, trading is a big thing in this country because trading is not what I'm advocating here. But then you go to China, you go to Singapore, you go to Malaysia, you go to Southeast Asia, it's full of entrepreneurs. Very, very.
Sir, I have one question. Like, is there any difference between Europe and India in the rule and regulations for start any new business? I mean, how easy to start new business in abroad, and what's the problem in India?
A wonderful question, Rajesh. In India, I mean, many of us know, and maybe you don't know, you know. See, India now beginning to improve, but starting in business in India, and you can ask from some senior people who have been doing business. I mean, I am not a big businessman, but very difficult. There are so many checks and balances that, it becomes very difficult, I'm telling you. I mean, right now in Telangana, where I am, Telangana at least claims what they call it single window clearance. That means if you want to start a business, you just go to one office, whatever documents, whatever things they require, they do it. And I know that recently we started a company also in Hyderabad, and it was done very easily. But traditionally, if you look, it was, and it is becoming easier now. I'm not saying that, but when you go back to Europe, so what happens in Europe? You can form a company within a week or less than a week. In Singapore, you can form in 2 days. In India, it will take you about maybe a month or a little more.
Thank you, sir. Nidhi ma'am, there are questions from our audience. Can you see that one?
Hello.
Yes,
Dr.
madam.
Palomi, there are questions and answers. Questions from the audiences.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, yes. Is Polmi there around?
So, sir, there is a question like I'm not able to see. Yeah. What's
No? Okay. Nidhi, am I audible now?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. I'm sorry about this problem. So, yes, sir. Yadav sir is online.
Connect to the JAVED.
Yes. Javed sir, Yadav sir will talk to you for a minute.
Hey.
Hello,
Friend.
how are you?
Good, friend. What are you doing? What happened to her? I thought hospital, right?
Actually, her both knee had done total knee replacement. So I'm in Apollo
Oh, okay.
hospital.
Good. So enjoyed.
Your talk was
Enjoyed.
very good. I could not listen because in the beginning there was some doctor came. So I went there again. Physiotherapy person has come.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's asking me to go because there is a painful thing.
Right.
So it was very good that you spared time and
No, it's
very
fine.
nice lecture. Most of it I heard. Okay, only initial maybe 1 or 2 slides I missed. It was
Always
a
a pleasure.
fantastic preparation.
Always a pleasure.
And
Always a pleasure. Thank you
so
very
I have
much.
seen you this kind of lecture. Always
Yeah.
feel,
I keep doing this lecture now, this kind of lecture, not only this, all over the country, because I mean, science everybody is teaching. So I thought we should do something
Right.
which can help, So
similarly, Kanuri Subba also gave fantastic lecture for startup.
yeah, absolutely. I think I like your university's idea about incubation, which is very good. Very good.
Actually, we had planned conference on 4th of August, of course. Everybody will come. Like Hindu, Mehta, Chandrasekhar and Chandra, everybody. But unfortunately, this happened. So I definitely will get another opportunity. We will have all of you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
In our
It would be
university.
great. Yeah, it would be great to come. Yeah, sure.
Once this gets open up, then you will be able to really see the university and all those.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I would definitely like to come.
So this is good that you deliver this lecture. and we could scratch your time from. We took out some time from you for this.
No, it's always a pleasure when you
people-
called me. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And us nowadays, we're doing nothing at home. So I'm actually, for last 1 week, I have given, this is my third lecture to different, so, this.
How's everybody? Started in Delhi or in Hyderabad?
No, they're in Hyderabad.
Your daughter is, huh?
Yeah.
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad.
The whole family in Hyderabad now. That's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. We are all based in Hyderabad.
Okay, physiotherapist person I suggest, so that's what I.
Okay, great. Any more questions?
Yes, sir.
Right.
There are a couple
We
more
will
questions.
text, no problem.
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Yadav, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, there are a couple of more questions. Mute, please.
Yes, please tell me.
One question is, what about success in food business to start during this pandemic? The reason behind asking this question is government now regulating curfew now and then. So this is a question from an anonymous attendee.
You see, I'll tell you what, government is doing it, of course, in areas where it is severe, but I can tell you one thing, that India is suffering less due to this COVID-19 because of our innate immunity. We Indians have lived in a kind of conditions environment where, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, sir, we
You
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
So, you see, there's something called herd immunity is what is going to be the helpful, and people will come out of it. And I think there is a good opportunity to start. I mean, one is to, when you plan out something, it just takes time. So I'm sure we are not going to be remaining, this whole situation is not going to remain like this for a long time. But my question is that if you're waiting to do something, and as you know, job opportunities are limited, it might be a very good idea for those of you who could possibly, think of planning something, maybe together with some friends. And so I think don't sort of wait for this to go away and government will give you a signal. That's never going to happen. Opportunities have to be grabbed. Opportunities in every crisis, I'm repeating, opportunity in every crisis is there. It's the people who have the insight, the knack of identifying it is what really, and those are the ones who become successful. So nobody will come and tell you, do this. You look it around today, and I can give you some examples as to how people whom I knew in the last few years have made a lot of money just in making, what you call hand wash. There is a company I know who was making pharmaceutical intermediates. And he told me, sir, I have made so much of money in this sanitizer that I have never made that kind of money in my whole life in my business. So you can see that guy took the opportunity, and it was no rocket science, making a hand sanitizer. You can make it at home, but he did it on a very large scale at a time when it was required and when there was not many people supplying it, and therefore it was happening. So I think opportunity is there.
Sir, one more question from students who are asking whether they should go for a small business or a large or a big one.
No, I think it's always better to go with a small business. Try to do it yourself, but if you have a very good, reliable friend, go with a very well understanding that, what is there for you, what is there for me, I'm going to do this, you're going to do this. And then, identify a problem or what idea you have and how that idea can be translated. So my suggestion to you is identify maybe 10, 20 ideas. Have a brainstorming among you or call some senior level person and say, look, out of these 10 ideas, what are the challenges in this one? Number one, no, dropped it. Number two, drop it. Number three, what will happen? You will eventually, by this brainstorming and discussion, you would actually arrive at a appropriate and at a, what you call, what you call a really doable business, right? Without that, don't jump into it. Never say, oh, I just have some money, I'll do something. Do some kind of research, discussion, identify challenges, identify opportunities, identify how much money is going to require, where the money is going to come from, and how much, at the what cost you're going to take this money. Are you going to give this money, take this money and give half of your company, or 1/3, or 10%, or 5%? These are very important considerations. And luckily, I think your university has a incubation center, and I'm very impressed with that. I think you have enough infrastructure to provide incubation or startup to some of your students who come to you, or even outside the students from your university, to start there. I think it's a very, very, I was highly impressed with what your university has. So big businesses are actually never done by startups. Big businesses are done when startup has taken off, has become a mature company. Then you can go and start looking into how do we grow, because every business must grow. Otherwise, you become a mom and pop shop. That is not the idea of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is taking a risk and going ahead by taking that risk and building your things, self-confidence, self-motivation, self-respect, and of course, commitment, perseverance, that no matter what happens, I'm going to, if I have to sleep on the floor, I will do it. But I want my business to grow. That's how the businesses are grown. And the spirit, the commitment, the clarity that you have in your mind will surely make you successful.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So we have one more question. This is from Obaidullah Nasi from Afghanistan. His question is, how can entrepreneurs reframe a new feature during COVID-19 when all education sectors are closed?
Say it again, please. I didn't follow it. Say it again.
Yes. It is, how can an entrepreneur reframe a new feature during COVID-19 when all education centers are closed?
Reframe. What is reframing meaning?
So I think he's trying to say that how can he find a void or find a need for any product or anything. I think educational centers are closed. I think in his own country, he's talking about Afghanistan.
So what? Education center have nothing to do with it. You are basically trying to look for skilled people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would always be there outside the education centers. I mean, no, I didn't understand this, but if I understood the way he's asking this question is the following. This is the time under the pandemic, you have an opportunity that you must grab. Opportunity cannot be told by you and me to him or her. Opportunity he or she has to find out. If you can find out that opportunity, I can tell you that you are likely to succeed almost 90 to 100%. But if you are not able to identify an opportunity in a crisis like this, then obviously perhaps you are not cut out for becoming an entrepreneur. Let me put it this way. These questions about academic institutions, universities are closed, there is no this thing, there is curfew, these are not going to make you entrepreneur. Entrepreneur goes against the wave, against problems. You know, if I sit one day and say, I'll start my company when COVID goes away, that will never happen. But I'm going to start when COVID is at its peak. And now I want to see what opportunity I have. This is what I meant. Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sir, I wanted to know, like, our Indian government is going to open agricultural field now, agriculture business. So is there any opportunity like cold chain or food processing? How you are looking to that?
It's a brilliant question, Rajesh. See, I think these are the questions these are the opportunities that COVID is doing because of the fact, you know, that there's a lot of things are going on now. Government is trying to make it more, you know, beneficial for the farmers as well as for end users. there is, I was reading an article yesterday, there are something like 50 to 60,000 crore of business that is done outside the agriculture farmers. That means all these equipments, all these manures, fertilizers, tractors, and what have you, so many things. So obviously, India is an agriculture dominant country. I think one of the things which I think, and I always tell to people who have been speaking to me all these days, that one of the major problems when you produce something in your farm, to take it to the market, the kind of loss you do in terms of decay, in terms of transport, in terms which a small farmer is unable to do, so he sells it there himself. Now, government is thinking, I'm not saying government is thinking, government is trying to do that. I think one of the things that people should think about is how do we take this produce of this farmer, particularly the fruit and perishable food, let's say. Either we convert this there itself into a juice or something, or we carry in such a way that it reaches to the market, to the end user in a very short period of time. People are talking about cold chains and other things. For instance, when I was a few years ago, I was in Northeast. Northeast produces some very valuable foods and in large quantities. And you know what? They were not even able to go beyond that state. They could not because of the lack of transport, aircraft and all. Beautiful oranges, beautiful apples. And I was shocked to see how they sell their pineapples and their other things there, and they are rot. Sorry to say that we as a nation have always ignored such places which produce some beautiful and very, very valuable produce for the country. But then, now if somebody is entrepreneur, somebody says, okay, I'm taking this, I will take this thing from you and I'll take it to, let's say, Kerala, right from north to south. And this is an idea. Now, how do you, kind of implement this? Is something that is what your skill is on. I cannot say you take it by air or take it by train or, take it by trucks.
So that is technical thing. So he has to be organized that. Yes.
This is where entrepreneur skill comes. Can I put up a plant there which can produce juices from there? Then I sell the juice. Can I put that into marmalade, into many other things? There's so many things we can do. Can I export from there itself to Middle East or to Europe or something like that? Now, these are all things which are no rocket science for an entrepreneur. If you go there and if you want to do it, you can seek opportunities in those areas. It is not difficult, I can tell you. I think, see, let me also tell you that we are two types of entrepreneurs in our country. One entrepreneur is the reri patti wala who sells his things every day. फल बेचता है, रेवड़ी बेचता है, समोसा बेचता है. वो शाम को जाता है बेचारा, उसने पैसे रख लिए, अब कल के लिए वो फिर लाएगा, वो बेचेगा. वो बहुत large number है. Then we have these mom and pop shops, the perfume shops, I think traditionally which has been coming, people are doing this. I'm leaving out the big companies like Reliance and all these and Cadelas and all. These are a separate class. But that's a very small minority, 1%, not even 1%. But majority of the people try to do very safe business. The businesses that I'm trying to tell you are all safe businesses. There are many crores of these people, vendors on the street, who do a business of thousands of crores per day. But it's a very safe business. Oh, malum hai unko ki aaj I'll take kela and I'll sell the kela, I'll get so much profit. Tomorrow again, I'll go and buy the kela. Or samosa or whatever, pakoda or all this. Then you have perfume shop, all lentils, dal, chawal, masala, and all these. Usko malum hai isme mujhe itna percentage milega. ये businesses हमारे यहाँ traditionally आ रहे हैं. और इस business में you don't need education per se. I'm not saying the people who are doing this are not educated, but I'm saying per se, most of them are family business. The other one is business driven by opportunity, because those poor people cannot do anything. So they have a cycle on the bicycle, they sell something. You've seen it all over the country. The people who are educated in our country always think I will get a job, because families say, no, take a secure job. Either I go to a government job. Everybody wants to do a government job because government job is very secure. You get a pension and all that. The other is, of course, private sector. A private sector cannot give jobs. Private sector has automations. Private sector is driven by bottom line. कितना पैसा साल में उसके पास investors हैं, उसके पास board members हैं, उसके पास सब कुछ है, तो उसका तो that company cannot. So I think where is the opportunity now for a very large number of young Indians that I talked about today is this area where you have to go, and there are schemes by the government. Look at your own university. You are giving some 50 lakhs and 1 crore or 2 crores. I think that's a great thing. If you can, like that, in a year, get some 10 people, 15 people, you are doing a great service to the nation. Now, this 10, 15 will lead to another 10, 15 and be a cascading effect for you over the next 5 to 10 years. That's what I was trying to say.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Yes. Sir, we have 2 minor questions.
Yes.
I should not say minor. There are questions from our attendees. One question is, myself, Santosh Kumar Vaidya, recently started a small business in cleaning chemical solution. Now it is a home-based business. What is the future of this business?
Cleaning chemical solutions.
Cleaning chemicals formulation. Sorry.
Cleaning chemicals for?
Formulations.
I think he is doing a good business. Let me tell you, from what I understand, if I understood correctly, I think he's got an opportunity and he's doing it from home. I think he's going to be a good entrepreneur. Absolutely. And I think he has, from what I understand, if I understand correctly, he has looked into that there are chemicals that could be positioned, and it doesn't require much manufacturing or anything. You just take from one and do some bit of what you call formulation and make something. This is what this friend I was talking about, who ran a few crores of business in pharma, made some hand sanitizers. He made 700 crores. So I think that's what the opportunity I'm saying, and I think it's a good idea, and you should actually look into these kind of things. See, all depends upon, again, not everybody has the fortune of, or fortunate enough to get, let's say, from a angel investor, let's say even 50 lakhs. He has some saving, maybe some friends or family people. Normally these businesses start from friends and family who give some money, and that's it. So depending upon that, you start your business, which is a very good idea, I would say. Some people are very lucky who can raise 5 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores to start with. Very good, idea-based. If the idea is good, money is there. Money is there only in those businesses. This is another thing I want to say. I forgot to say this. Money is there only in those businesses which do not make the investors to wait for 5 years. Investor today wants to put money and say, what I will get after 1 or 2 years. So your time horizon will be maximum 2, or at stretching it beyond 2 will be 3, not more than that. So one has to also position himself or herself in those kind of businesses where you have attract an investor who says, okay, give me 1 crore, I'll make it 1.25 crores tomorrow, next year or day after, year after that. Usme kya hai ki chances of getting money is very good, high. But somebody says, give me 1 crore today after 5 years, like in drug discovery and all that we did in Dr. Reddy's. So, that guy say, I can't wait for 5 years. And will be 5 years, can you double my 1 crore? Can you give me 2 crores after 5 years? Now, those are the kind of things which are not very attractive unless you are very, very good and convincing. So the businesses, one has to also, if you are raising money, if you are putting your own money from family and friends, do whatever. But if you are going to raise money from an investor, from an angel, or from a venture capitalist, you have to understand that their time span is very low. They cannot wait for 5 years. So you have to give them returns on their investment in maximum 2 to 3 years, between 2 to 3 years is the right thing.
Thank you, sir. We will move in the webinar. We will go to, okay, before I transfer it to Rajesh, who has formally prepared for this talk. I must say that when I joined IIT Kanpur as MSc 2-year student, sir already left. But my super senior told me that you have missed a very good teacher. Today, I really can see that how much analysis he has done to make this presentation. It was really, really different from other presentations that we have seen. They were also very good, but this analysis part that we miss, and I really regret that I was not there in IIT Kanpur when sir was teaching organic chemistry.
No,
We must invite sir after COVID to IU.
Yes, yes, sir, please.
Say it again.
You should come to IU.
You must come to IU.
I will.
Have your presence at the IU campus, sir.
Yes, I will. I mean, Yadav is a very dear friend, and so definitely I'll come. And definitely I'll give a different talk. I nowadays in India, I'm giving talks on not on this only, but on other things. Like last week, I gave it on, on innovation. So
one of the entrepreneur kid who is there at IU Innovation Center, Incubation Center, who is working on PCM, and he has achieved a break-even also. Young chap, he's one of the incubee at the IU. Other guy is there into a tech sector, which is into aggregating some mom and pop shop. He has raised around 2 million rupees and he's doing good. But this chap who is doing on PCM, another thing is looking at single-use plastic biodegradation. So
this is a very important area, very important.
Yeah. And he's working on that, and he's a passionate guy, like you have said, all the ingredients of being an entrepreneur, that guy is quite passionate.
You have to be. You have to be. Actually, I'm helping a guy who's former IIT Kanpur student. He's right now come to Hyderabad. They are also doing a similar thing using nanobiotechnology to make all these waste, agro waste to make materials. And this is definitely, a very important area. And future is that, see, one more thing that, I mean, these people have to be given a kind of talk on what are the areas that are emerging and where you have opportunities. Then they understand very clearly. Many of them themselves are very bright, so they know. But a lot of students have this question in their mind as to what I should do. And I think for that, I have given a talk just about a week ago. What are the areas and why you should do and what are the opportunities? Actually, this also is extremely important. Sometimes when I come to your place, I will perhaps give that talk also, so that people know, especially young mind today doesn't know. They have a question: what should I do? I mean, I want to do something, but then So there is a way, and I have done this myself to several people. I actually mentor about 3 people today. And my passion is mentoring. Let me be also honest. I like to mentor young people, and they are all in touch with me, and they call me, and I help them, And, so I think by experience, it is very important that these people who want to do, they must also interact with people across so that they know what is happening, what is good, what is not, and learn from people who already have started ahead of them, let's say by 2 years ago. What are the challenges you have when you started your business? What are the challenges? These are the things, learning that we must bring into a sort of network fashion. Make a kind of a network of an ecosystem, I would call it, an ecosystem of people who actually would talk to each other, exchange their views, learn from each other's experience and difficulties, and become better in terms of things. That's how we should do in our country. I would advise your university to create a kind of ecosystem, is the right word for me, at least. I like it, this word. An ecosystem of entrepreneurs who could be connected to your people, and you should also invite them to your place to essentially interact with your people and exchange views with your existing, let's say, incubatees. You must be having some incubatees. Indian School of Business here, where I advise, They have a very big investment centers, Hyderabad, Indian School of Business. So I was there last few months before pandemic. They give 25 lakhs to a startup and they give the place to them. And I was among the judges, and I found that Indian youth are bubbling with ideas. Indian youths are not afraid to take risks today. I think what Indian youth need today is a direction and is little input in terms of what and where they should do. A lot of it comes from IT. A lot of IT-based work is done. I think that is unnecessarily people are driving into IT and AI, which is good. I'm not saying. But IT and AI should not take away all the focus of many of the youth. There are many other problems that we can solve without IT and AI. Because today I sit in these committees of DST and SERB and all. A lot of projects come on AI or 3D bioprinting, all those kind of things. But relation with health, environment, energy, which is a very major component of our society, is not everybody's AI. 3D bioprinting, they are now making all these structures, machines, buildings. But I think I'm not denying that. That's a very important area. But the area where I think, because once the fashion comes, then people chase it. We are in this race for this fashion. I think we are losing out on some of the areas. Like this gentleman who just asked this question that he is using some solvent or chemicals to do. I think they're great ideas. He's genuinely, he will make it one day a big thing if it just goes into a systematic way. Because he didn't have to spend too much time. It's a COVID time. He can stay at home and do it. That's how we start. So I think, yeah.
Thank you, sir. We have many questions. If we continue, you will miss your lunch. So I will move to Rajesh, sir, who will formally conclude your session.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for excellent and motivative lecture. There are so many things to as a takeaway, but I can count few of them. So what you said to our students should be like self-reliant. They should be self-motivated, and they should also take a risk, not hesitate to go in any business, and they should have also like a business reading and market reading. And they should not look only in the IT or AI, what you said. They should go for agriculture, they should look for health, even water management. That's also a very big issue as per our population. So these things, and one more thing you said, like ready to sacrifice your valuable other things also. If you achieve something, you have to be ready for sacrifice. So with this, I would like to say our student will really get what you said and come up with their whatever learn in the class and logically apply that knowledge in their business. So thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Just for parting, once again, I will say same thing I said during my talk. Remember, young people, and this is something keep in your mind. The biggest risk that you take in your life is that you don't take a risk. Remember that. And business is risk taking, okay?
Yes.
And those who don't take a risk don't talk about it. You see, it's very simple. Then you do whatever you want. I'm only addressing people who are willing to take a risk and have the ideas. I think. Very good, and thank you very much. And I would be indeed very delighted to meet you people again. Thank you for a very patient listening. Thank you very much. Good luck, all the best. Thank you, Nidhi, for all your help. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And just we will give a formal vote of thanks.
Okay. Okay.
So just a couple of minutes, please. We will move to Dr. Hiral Trivedi, who is co-coordinator of this event. She will thank the organizers and attendees.
A very good afternoon, all. I'm audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You are.
Thank you, sir. Very good afternoon to all. I, Dr. Hiral Trivedi, on behalf of Indrashil University, want to thank Professor JAVED IQBAL sir for giving us a wonderful webinar and enlightening us with his knowledge. Thank you, sir, for giving us your precious time. I want to thank Dr. J.S. Yadav sir, our Provost and Research Director, without whose support and guidance this webinar series would not have been possible. I want to thank Professor Bharti Dave ma'am, Dean School of Sciences, for providing us constant direction for this webinar series. I want to thank Professor Amish Vyas sir, Dean School of Engineering, for his constant support. I want to thank Mr. Abhinand Patel sir and Sharma sir for HR and technical support. We express our deep gratitude to GUJCOST for funding and financial support. I want to thank Mr. Anuj sir, Mr. Sashwat sir, and all technical team members of Indrashil University for advertising and setting up the webinar series so successfully. I want to thank Dr. Nidhi Gaur ma'am and Dr. Paulomi Sen Gupta ma'am for coordinating this webinar series very successfully. Finally, I want to thank all the panelists, faculties of School of Sciences and School of Engineering, staff members of Indrashil University students, and all the attendees for giving their valuable time. Again, thank you so much, sir. It was really an amazing experience to listen to you. It was really a great pleasure for all of us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best. Good luck. It was indeed a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year, sir, in advance.
Oh, Happy New Year. Sorry, I should have said that to all of you.
Happy New Year, sir. Thank you.
May 2021 bring all the kind of happiness and let's get out of this pandemic situation. All the best. Enjoy and keep smiling.
Last webinar of our GUJCOST webinar series, so it was very happy ending.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.